too old for the stresses of public office? Putin turned 70 on October 7, 2022. Some experts believe the stresses of the Ukrainian invasion have put their toll on the Russian president. Some have even pointed out that Putin behaves differently than before. So who could replace him if something happens? Nikolai Patrushev. All of the Kremlin watchers are pointing to this Russian super spy and Putin's close confidant to replace him if anything should happen. He currently serves as the Secretary of the Security Council of Russia, but in the past, he was famous for his role as an FSB spy. And while he's been paying visits to China recently, hopefully trying to calm the war concerns over there, age is not on his side. He is currently 71 years old, which makes him a year older than Putin. And if you thought the current president was bad, Nikolai Patrushev has the potential to be worse. Why? Well, first of all, he has a growing dislike for the US and the West. For example, just before the war in Ukraine began, Patrushev came out and said that Washington secretly wants to witness the collapse of the Russian Federation. Business Insider stated that he would be most likely to replace the current president if anything were to happen to him. Oh, and we almost forgot. In the past, he accused Madeleine Albright of saying the Far East and Siberia shouldn't be part of the Russian Federation. It's statements like these, with no basis or fact to back them up, that make him a very dangerous and scary presidential candidate for Russia. This is why Newsweek's first pick is Dmitry Medvedev. When Medvedev was Russia's president from 2008 until 2012, suddenly Russia was no longer seen as a threat to the stability of Europe. He even went to the United States and visited Silicon Valley with an iPad in hand, as a way to market himself as a modern political leader. While the image he portrayed to the world is rosy and pink, the reality behind Medvedev's presidential campaign is plagued with corruption. After the collapse of the USSR, Russian presidents could only serve 2 four-year terms, after which they were out of office. Putin assumed office at the beginning of the new millennium and ruled until 2008. After that, Medvedev, another member of Putin's United Russia Party, became president. And many political analysts say that this was just a show. Putin and Medvedev both originated from Saint Petersburg, and their relationship could be described as that of Batman, Putin, and Robin, Medvedev. While Putin was prime minister, the party elected a new law that made it possible for the new president to smash that like button just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, it allowed the president to run indefinitely, or until reaching the age of 84. During Medvedev's term, Putin and the president were seen skiing, fishing, working out together, and even drinking tea and hot cocoa together, just like good buddies should. And being a good buddy means sharing the presidential office with your close friends. That's why in 2012, Putin could finally run for president again, and he has recently won another term, despite the obvious outrage of Russians against him. John Barrow, the former U.S. ambassador to Russia, once described their relationship like this. Medvedev sits in the driver's seat of a new car and examines the inside, the instrument panel, and the pedals. He looks around, but the steering wheel is missing. He turns to Putin and asks, Vladimir Vladimirovich, where is the steering wheel? Putin pulls a remote control out of his pocket and says, I'll be the one doing the driving. For all of his troubles, Putin made sure to give him a nice $1.2 billion. How do we know? Well, the prime minister was accused of embezzling that much, which could explain why he has a 4.3-hectare estate in Malavka, which features a giant mansion, guest houses, helipads, several pools, a ski run, and Medvedev's very own lake. Even though many Western leaders have said that Medvedev would be a better leader than Putin, we're not so sure about that. Right after the invasion of Ukraine, Medvedev wrote on Telegram, I hate them. They are bastards and degenerates. They want us, Russia, to die. And while I'm still alive, I will do everything to make them disappear. So maybe 57-year-old Dmitry Medvedev might not be the best fit to replace Putin in office, which is why we think a better choice would be Alexei Dyumin. Dyumin will never question the Putin legacy nor let any harm come to Putin himself. Dyumin will be excellent as a president for the power elite, stated Sergey Dorenko, a pro-Kremlin journalist. Alexei Dyumin was by Putin's side since 1999, and the reason many have pointed out Dyumin as Putin's replacement is because of the president's recent macho displays of war. And who better to do this than Putin's personal bodyguard, the man who smashed that subscribe button just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, seriously now. He was the one who protected the Russian president from coup attempts, Siberian tigers, world leaders, and even a brown bear. That's right, he once said that a brown bear snuck inside the president's official quarters. He went to see what caused all the noise, and then Dyumin and the beast locked eyes. He said that the bear stepped back a bit and was getting ready to charge toward him. Before the bear could do this, Dyumin unloaded an entire cartridge under his legs. The bear fell to the ground and died. Later, Putin's bodyguard said that he felt pity for the bear, but he would never risk the president's life. Of course, of this type of loyalty, Putin rewards him handsomely, but not legally. He has been awarded valuable land slots all across Russia, and he was even given an entire poultry plant just outside of Moscow. The previous workers claim they were swindled out of it, but recently, that's not all he's been receiving. In 2014, he was heading the military special forces operation during the Russian annexation of Crimea. Later, Putin proclaimed him Hero of Russia and was named Deputy Defense Minister. So it is possible that a guy like him could be elected to the ultimate position of power in Russia. Dmitry Patrushev. Patrushev is the closest thing Russia has come to having a prince. If we remember correctly, Nikolai Patrushev, the leader of the FSB in 2000, referred to the servicemen as the new nobility. And it seems like Nikolai kept the reign of the organization within the family. His son graduated from the FSB while being groomed for a career in politics by his father. Dmitry, at the age of 44, became Minister of Agriculture in 2018. Later, he was appointed to head the Russian Agriculture Bank, a state-owned entity controlling vast sums of money. So now, people are looking to him as the following successor of Putin. After all, he did succeed his father in politics, Mikhail Mishustin. If anything were to happen to Putin, Article 92.3 of the Russian Constitution clearly states that the role of the president will be temporarily fulfilled by the Prime Minister of Russia. And this is where Mikhail Mishustin comes into play. So if something were to happen to Putin, the first person that would head the country would be Mishustin himself. Before ascending to the role of Prime Minister, the 56-year-old was a chief tax collector. With the constitutional changes of 2020, Putin basically became the president for life, and this paved the way for Mikhail Mishustin to become Prime Minister. Let's just hope that he isn't going to turn into a supervillain if something happens to Putin. Sergey Sobyanin. Currently, this 64-year-old politician serves as the mayor of Moscow. Seasoned in politics, he has served as governor of Tyumen province from 2001 until 2005. Then he was named as head of the Kremlin administration from 2005 until 2008, and he was deputy prime minister from 2008 until 2010. Since he became mayor of Moscow, he has been responsible for making the capital of Russia more livable with new perks, restored historical buildings, and landmarks. And of course, we can't forget about the suppression of protest in Moscow. However, if these protests were not controlled effectively, then we could see Sergey Sobyanin ascending to the Russian presidential office. Check out these videos next.